Hello everybody and welcome back. So along the line of creating volumes and rendering all these effects, there's also the atmospheric effects, which is a separate path that is also made of volumes. And the best way to create these kind of elements is to use to create a box that encompasses your entire environment and then convert that into a VDB volume. And we save that VDB volume to disk. So I'm going to paste the two nodes here, and I'm gonna disable the cooking, and I have a box that encompasses everything, and I'm just converting it into a VDB that I'm saving to disk as atmo_VDB, and this will help me avoid exporting it every frame. So I have this node, it's called atmo_VDB, and if I turn it on, you can see it cover pretty much everything in the scene. And I'm going to go to the out context, and what we need, I'm going to copy this, I'm going to call this D for Atmo, and we need pretty much everything to be included as matte. So we need the geometry, we need the smoke, we need the fire, everything else is going to be used as matte. Okay, sparks, particles, all of it. And then we need to include the lights. Now for the lights, we don't need everything. Okay, we don't need the atmospheric from the sky dome. It's very expensive. We only need it from the main lights. For example, this light, the side light, the mountain lights, which is pretty much everything. I don't think we will need it from this, but let's do a test and see. So I'm going to copy this name and go to the out context and paste it here. And go to Atmo, and let's hit render. So we have to wait for this to export all the geometry, and the only thing with this is the only problem with this atmospheric is we have to include all the geometry at once, because we cannot render it in separate passes. And I think I didn't include the mountains, and yeah, I didn't include the mountains, so let's do that. Ground coverage, mount coverage, and let's hit render again. And for this pass, we don't need any global illumination, we don't need any volumetrics, we just need raw volumes with no features, pretty much, no indirect, nothing. Pardon me. And Arnold is quite good about this stuff because it can render things like that super quick, and the shader is very simple. The only thing we have to tweak is the anisotropy, and this is gonna give us that glowy light around the glowy effect around lights, and as we face the light itself, it's gonna look brighter. As we face away, it's gonna get dimmer, so like a Fresnel effect, but with volumes. So this is what we have. And I'm gonna look at the AUVs because I want to tweak this later properly. And it's sampling. It's a bit noisy, so we will have to increase the settings quite a bit for this because it's a large volume. It's a massive scene. And adaptive works quite good. So for final settings, we'll probably do 7 and 4, something like that. And transparency, we go lower, and then light threshold will increase it because we want to ignore as soon as possible if a light is not contributing. We want to be a bit more aggressive, and this tends to help with render time and memory as well. So let's wait for this to finish. This is the red front light, and you can see how it's contributing to the scene even though it is outside. And that's because of the shader tweaks, which we'll do in a bit. So let me go to the shader. And you can see the value here is -0.71, which I think it's a bit low, but I will play with it so you guys can see how it affects the result. The volume density is very low because it's a large scale Atmo or a large scale volume, and we're inside of it. We have to make sure that to tweak this properly. So right now the value is just enough to see the geometry here, but we'll check the other lights. So this is the top. So this is the top light. This is pretty good. I really like this because I can use it to get some nice atmospherics, like an environment atmo, not just light fog. This is the sky dome, which is pretty expensive to get nice sampling out of it, so probably remove it. And then this is the one with the masks, or to replicate the clouds. This is very good, so I'm gonna keep that. This is one from the top, and this is the one from behind. And it's not visible, so I'm not sure why. But that's it. This is for the volumetrics. It's taking a bit of time for it to finish the first buckets. I think this was the slowest pass in the entire project, but the result is pretty clean with these settings. Now I'm gonna lower them. I wanna tweak the anisotropy effect. Let's turn this off, set it to 3, and let's go back to the shader. So let's set this all the way here, and you can see how the light is glowing around the light source itself rather than uniformly. So as we look towards this light, as we face it and see it directly, it's gonna glow. As we move away from it, it's gonna fade very, very quickly. We can get the inverse of that. We can say, if a light is outside, I want it to shine. If I look at it straight directly, it's gonna be much dimmer. And this is really up to you. You could tweak this per shot as well. And this is gonna be a separate pass, as we talked about. So that's it for atmospherics. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys.